Okay, everyone. Hello. We are on the last day of Web Fundamentals. We are going to go over the last algorithm session in this stack course. We have today a really fun algo challenge. It's called the Dojo Sweeper. So what you're going to do is copy this HTML into your create an HTML file, create a CSS file, preset rules. But here's the challenge itself. So yesterday we went over 2D arrays, right? And what do we have here? A 2D array. So if we want to access the first position here of the first array within the arrays, can someone remind us all how to do that? Someone just type it in the chat so we know that we're on this, we still remember.
How to access the...
You guys see my screen, right?
Yeah, we can see
Yeah,
it.
we're seeing it.
Okay. So how would you access the first index of the first array within the arrays?
The dojo dot 0.0.
Right, because this, when you iterate through this array, you create two for loops, one for loop within the next one. And this would be the first index. And then to enter in this index and give this position here, it is the dojo at 0 at 0. Okay, so what we want to do here is create a Minesweeper game. So we have this code preset so that when you select a number, it will. Did anyone ever play Minesweeper? Let's see if we can find it. So
Yes.
Yeah, I did.
let's see if I can find a quick Minesweeper online. So this is how it works. Let's do a beginner session. You click a square, and it will let you know what by the position here. You can see this is an array of arrays, which is a 0. So we want to avoid hitting the high numbers. So that's not the object of today's algo. We're just going to try and create a row of rows so that we can get the specific index we're looking for when we click that index. So take a look here. We have a result. We have a for loop. And then we have another for loop within the for loop. That's how we iterate through a 2D array. And then we have a result. It says plus equals button class Tommy on click. It shows you how many are surrounding the one that you've clicked. So what we want to do is any place that we click, for example, if I'm clicking this, let me pull out the annotation tool. It's kind of hard with just the mouse pad. Annotate, draw. So if I click this 0 here that's highlighted, I want to see everything surrounding it. So how would we iterate within this 2D array, this position, 2, and then this position 0, then stop, then also show on the next array, outer array index, and then we go inside this array, show me this position, show me this 2, skip over this 0, and then show me 5, 0, 1. So imagine how you could do that within a 2D array. So let's go ahead and give some feedback as to understanding today's assignment.
You just want us to like console log the surrounding ones?
That's the first step. And then the next step is to configure that result that you're able to make with the game itself.
Okay.
Okay, so you have code here that's already, it's like 80% done. But the heart of the problem is whenever you select any integer here, you want to see the surrounding numbers. It's like a 3x3 square. Okay, so imagine now if you were to select one at the top right here. You know that if you are in the first array here, I can't scroll up, but that's fine. This area here only has those numbers on the left corner. You have this 8 to the left of the 0, to the bottom left of the 0, and right below the 0. So you have to take into account what you would do if you land in these areas. You don't want to give a result for these areas because they don't exist, right? They would not be real values. So you have lots of factors to account for, even if you're on an edge here. How would you get the 3x3 square that this 0 lives in? And take into account that this area to the right is empty. Start by console logging. You have a hint here. You have this for loop within a for loop to get the initial position of the integer of the index that you clicked. Okay, I'll drop in the rooms here to make sure everyone's doing all right, but let's see how well we're understanding this concept today. Or the challenge, concept of the challenge. If not, we can explain it again. Okay. Yeah, this is the most challenging algorithm I would say that we've had so far. So don't worry if you don't fully understand what to do here. The object is you select an integer and then iterate through a 3x3 square, or find another way. There's 2 ways to do it. You can do it using for loops, or you can do it using if statements. And that's my hint. There's 2 methods to do this, using for loops or using if statements. Okay. So let's go ahead and break out into rooms. I'll go ahead and sign you guys into the algo rooms that we have. And we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, does anyone have any questions while I go ahead and do this?
What do those money signs mean in the on click?
These are the string interpolators. So whatever value here, you're adding to the string of how many.
Okay.
Christian, can you help me assign to the breakout rooms I've created? I have to, oh, yeah, I found it. I found it, no worries.
All right.
Okay, Riggs and Brandon, I will go ahead and place you in the test rooms, and then I'll go ahead and give you the code after I explain the rules here. One moment. Morning, Brandon.
Morning, Josh.
Josh, you're muted.
Here we go. Thank you. All right, we're back, everyone. Let's go ahead and present our solutions. If we have any, who'd like to go first?
You want us to go?
Go ahead.
Alrighty. Alright. So this is kind of what we came up with. We tried to do things differently at first, and we had our objectives a little confused. So instead of count, we use sum, but just imagine sum as count. Essentially what we have here is a nested for loop with 2 if loops inside the for loops. This kind of just goes, this first line iterates or goes through the array at x equals the index of I minus 1. And then that keeps going until x is less than or equals to I plus 1. So if you guys didn't notice, you needed to look through the array from, let's say you selected position 1, 1. Your starting position would be 0, 0, and your ending position would be 2, 2. So we essentially created a for loop, a nested for loop, to go through the array at those positions. And we did that by doing index at I minus 1, and it goes through to index at I plus 1.
Okay, so
and then-
hold on, let me interrupt you here and there. So what is I minus 1? If it's 1, if we're looking at 1, 1, right? Go ahead and select 1, 1, if you would. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's, so we, so 0, 0
Mhm.
is up 1 row from 1, 1 and left 1 column, right?
Right,
So the position is, the position I minus 1 targets the row above.
correct.
Okay, and so we iterate until we reach x, which is less than or equal to I plus 1. So what is that? What's I plus 1?
The row below.
Yes, so when we reach this row, we know we finished going through the rows. Okay, and
Correct.
go ahead and continue and explain the inner for loop.
Yeah, so essentially this inner for loop is doing the same thing, however, except for the index of I is the index of j. So we also start at j minus 1, which will put you left 1, and then that goes through to j plus 1, which will put you to the right of whatever you selected. And then we have this if loop here. We could have done this a different way. We didn't realize that you could just say if it's equal to undefined, and then do your thing. However, instead of doing that, we did if x is greater than or equal to 0 and x is less than the dojo dot length, so the length of the array, and y is greater than or equal to 0 and y is less than the length of the array going downwards, so the second array, then what you're going to do is see if x and y is greater than 0 and if x and y, or if the dojo at the index of x and y is greater than 0, you're going to add it to sum.
Okay. And how did you take into account, like, so you added the sums of all the surrounding values, so all 9 surrounding values, right? How did you subtract? So for example, you selected 1, 1. And so if I look at the grid on line on the above from lines 1
Mhm.
to 4. So 1 plus 1 plus 3 is 5. And then the middle value is 1, so that would be 6.
Yep.
And then the value to the right is 0, and then the bottom left is 5, so that would be a sum of 11. And 11 plus 7
18.
is 18, right? But
Mhm.
we want also to subtract the middle value. We don't want to take into account the middle value. So what could we add to this to subtract the middle value?
I don't know. We didn't really give that any thought. We thought the assignment says you can either include or exclude the number of the clicked square. So we just went with the easy route.
Okay, so I'm giving you the hard route now. Let's think about how we could do that.
Sure.
You can just minus. We can create another variable and
Oh.
the x and y value and then subtract it from sum.
Or we can just subtract it right here, right? Sum
Yeah.
equals sum plus dojo at xy minus the dojo at
X.
I and j.
Yeah. Yeah.
I and z. Oh yeah, you're right. Oh nice. All right, nice. Yeah. Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Yikes.
Nice.
So 12.
Hold on a second, because we were just looking for 17. That 1 is just one value. So what do we do here wrong? We missed something here. Christian, could you
Let
Oh,
me
Christian.
Saving
take a
grace,
look.
please.
Let me take a
leave
look.
me? Okay, hold on a second.
So you've got sum equals sum plus the dojo xy, the dojo ij.
Oh, do you not think it should be plus the dojo ij minus xy instead of the way we have it? So minus the dojo xy plus the dojo ij. Try that, Matt.
Shouldn't we
Maybe.
do this after the if loop? Because this is just going to keep iterating, right? Or actually, we could just do this here, can we?
Yeah, I think that may work. It might as well test it. There's something about maybe the order of operations. Maybe it's
Why
you
is that
did
not
minus
working?
minus.
Oh. There you go.
So there we go. Whew.
I think it was just constantly iterating and subtracting.
Okay.
we selected.
Yeah, that's what it did. Okay.
Oh, nice.
We'd have to console log to see that bug, but let's
Yeah.
dodge that bullet there and just put it there. Okay.
Alrighty.
Good job, guys.
Thanks.
Anyone else have a different sort of solution that they could explain?
Yeah, I got one.
All right, Nicholas, let's see it.
All right. All right. So I may have taken this in an additional direction than I needed to, but I think I accomplished what needed to be accomplished. So basically, I created some variables to house some things. I thought in my head, like, all right, this is a game. Like, I click the button and it's going to give me a random location. And from that location, I want to be able to add up all the, numbers that are in that box that are not undefined. So what I did was I did the for loop to get me random numbers. Now I have my random number to start. And then from there, I did try and accept. And I know, Christian, you're probably thinking, oh my God, but I didn't know how to create an iterative try and catch that I could then drop in the various things I needed to drop in. But basically, one by one, I said, number one is going to be my number minus one on the first dimension and minus one on the second dimension. So I basically charted it out. If my number was 7-1, if I want to go to the first one, I got to go to 6-0. So that's minus one to the first dimension and and -1 for the second dimension. And I just kind of charted it out like that, like on a map, and said, try this. And if it's not, like if you get an error, then make it undefined. And that way I could make sure that anything was off the board is undefined. And then I just pushed them into an array. And then from that array, I said, you know, for the each element in the array, if the element is not undefined, add it to the sum and then print the sum. And then, so that gets you, your location is 8, 8, your number is 1. And if you go 8, 8 is 1. And then there were no, because it's here, there was nothing that was off the board. So it just added it up to 8. But if you keep going, you'll see eventually, I don't know why that happened. Hold on. If you keep going, you do end up getting an undefined. See, so here's an undefined where 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0 is 6, but you know, that's off the board. So 3 are off the board. And so it only added 5, 11, and that's it.
Okay, that's awesome, Nicholas. So you use some methods we hadn't explained yet, the try catch, but that
Yeah.
is a way that we could see here if something wasn't a definite number, that we would give it an undefined value. But it already would be undefined, right? If you were
True.
in that area.
Yeah, that's probably true. And again, I'm still kind of novice at this with the try and catch loop thing, and just like I wasn't sure how kind of how to iterate through that loop. And then, you know, I think when I got stuck there, I kind of overlooked the fact that they were already undefined. But yeah.
And
Good
you
point.
randomized it. So that was interesting. So instead of
Yeah.
clicking a place, you said, okay, click anywhere and we'll find what that value is.
Yeah, because I could have a selector. You know, I like that idea that we just saw where you pick the square. I mean, you could just have a selector, look for the click event, right? And then that would be your starting point. And then you can kind of then get rid of all this and just enter it here, and it would be the same thing, kind of.
Okay. All right. So I think we should have just one more group present, even though we've already seen both solutions. I just want us to, for the sake of some people maybe not understanding, just go over this again so that we can grasp as much as we can. So one more group that has a solution, would you present?
We can do it, but can we have like somebody present it from my team? I can share my screen.
Sure.
Yeah, I can walk through it.
Got it. Thank you, Zach.
Okay, so how do we do this? So basically we did 2 for loops. Let me pull this up. 2 for loops here to kind of go through actually just a square that we wanted. So like kind of how the first group did it, we switched y and x from their solution, but y starts at the row above, and on that entire row above that we're looking at, and we only want y to go to the row below, and anything past it we don't want to look at those rows. So this loop is going to go 3 times, and then same thing for the inner loop. We just kept the same logic. We just switched the x with the y and the I with the j. And then to deal with the bounds inside so we look at every row that we're at, and we basically said, if we're out of bounds from the array, if y is an index out of bounds, we continue. So it kind of just skips that whole row, and we don't even access the array. So we don't get undefined or anything. And then the same thing for the columns. If we're somewhere where we're going to be undefined or error, we just skip it. So, and continue kind of just, it skips everything else in the loop. It goes right back to the loop, to the start. And in this case, we'll do x plus plus and then redo the loop. And then, so we made a sum variable outside of our for loops. And then we added each location in our little box to sum, and then right at the end subtracted the middle location, and then we put an alert. But
Okay.
yeah,
So let's see this in action. Let's see your HTML. Okay. So we got the sum 13, and then it will show 13, right?
Yeah, we didn't actually have it change in.
Okay, well, that's good enough. For whatever square, you'll get an alert for the surrounding values added up together. Okay. So let's get some feedback. Let's get a level of understanding, and it's okay to be honest here if you're not understanding how well we understand how to iterate through selective positions and a 2D array. Okay. If it's really bothering you, and it's gonna bother, disturb your sleep at night, we can maybe go over this again later on. I'd be happy to explain it in a bit slower for people that are wanting to know. Okay. So let's go ahead and stop this morning algo session.